fertilizer's in the news. And on the off chance that you thought these headlines might be a whole lot of nothing, great news. It's even dumber than you thought. Let me give you the summary right now. Fertilizer prices are not, in fact, up that much at all, which means this whole let's panic about fertilizer prices news cycle is not even really about fertilizer. It's about something much, much sillier. Come here, look at this. This is the main fertilizer affected by this crisis, and look, the price is normal. It went up a little bit for a couple of days and then back down. That's what all these scary headlines have been about. That's it. And by the way, it's spring farm prep time for me right now. The lighting in here is crazy because it's at night and I have not had time to adjust it to nighttime shooting. If the sun is out, I'm working outside these days. I just spent 2 straight days shoveling manure because fertilizer, but I have had so many people in a panic asking me what's going on that I took a break to walk us through this dumpster fire of a news cycle about how farmers can't get fertilizer. Why can't you farmers get fertilizer? Are food prices gonna go up again? Are we all gonna starve? I took a break from getting fertilizer for this. So if I sound a little annoyed, it's because I cannot believe we have to do this. I hosed off before recording this. Just for you, I am not currently covered in these headlines about how, oh, farmers can't get fertilizer, so they can't grow food, so maybe prices will go up for consumers, are hard to square with reality, which means it kind of smells like political talking points that the farm lobby is putting out there to influence public opinion. You know, the good old give us what we want or else play. What the farm lobby is looking for, depending on which statements you look at, is more free money or let's do more war with Iran harder. And fertilizer prices are the reason they're giving for that this week. Now here's the question, why would the farm lobby do this? I can give you my take, and that is that a lot of US farmers are in deep financial trouble because the guy they voted for started a trade war over a year ago. And it's also starting to become clear that other Americans can no longer be guilted into giving farmers money in the manner to which farmers have become accustomed. The usual guilt trips aren't working anymore because it is quite clear that the farm sector walked itself into this problem. The idea that we have to rescue farmers is not really resonating with the US public in the same way it usually has. Because the usual you have to bail us out tactics aren't working so well anymore, a lot of US farmers are starting to feel kind of cornered. So maybe you start throwing a little spaghetti at the wall. If you can convince everyone, oh, it's the war that drove up fertilizer costs to where we can't afford them, maybe then people will feel bad enough for you and do something to bail you out. So a quick note, there are other fertilizers that are having a slight price increase. The one everybody's talking about is ammonium phosphates. Ammonium phosphates are really popular with farmers because you can get 2 plant nutrients in the same product. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 shampoo and conditioner of fertilizers. It is not the only way you can get those nutrients. There's other synthetic fertilizers that have these that have not had as much price increase. And there's also good old manure. I know a lot of us don't like to use manure because pound for pound it doesn't have that much nutrients in it. So you have to haul and spread so much manure to get it to work. And that just takes a long time. It's a lot of work. So a little behind the scenes peek here. It's kind of a trope in farm country that some farmers will have a lot of manure kind of over here, kind of stack up, or they'll just kind of apply the manure that they have to the fields that are closest to the barn where the manure comes from. So they'll have kind of a manure buildup situation in that area, and then they'll go buy fertilizer for the rest of their fields. That is because it is so much easier to spread purchased fertilizer than it is to gather and spread manure. And somehow the guy who does this is always the guy who complains the most about how everyone else is lazy, consumers are lazy, and also farming is hopeless and he can't make no money because everyone's just too lazy and the man's out to get him. That is a very real dynamic in agriculture. So when farmers are telling you flat out, we can't get fertilizer, especially phosphorus, because there's a lot of phosphorus in manure, that is a big old pile of manure. The nutrients are out there. And I know that saying that is going to make me real unpopular with the guilty parties. Tough nuts. The people that we are asking to foot the bill for this deserve to know that it's nonsense. Anyway, since throwing ourselves pity parties and asking the public to bail us out has not been working as well as we'd like, a lot of farmers are starting to feel kind of cornered and panicky. And some folks have always kind of thought that a war in the Middle East would force Jesus to come back and then he'd solve all their problems, so might explain some people's behavior. But to bring it back to the affairs of mortals, let's make sure we understand why US farmers are having a bad time right now. It's because we've already wrecked a lot of our own export markets because of a trade war. We've already been paying more for fertilizer for over a year because of a trade war. That's the real reason fertilizer costs are up. Fertilizer prices have been somewhat elevated for over a year now because of the tariffs. Now, as a farm sector, we could always try just solving the problem because that's what adults do. The farm lobby has a lot of sway in the GOP coalition, so they could push their congressional reps to grow a pair and stop the trade war. They could also push for impeachment, but they're not doing that because they don't want to. At the end of the day, most US farmers like Trump. And if that relationship sounds weird to you, I did a whole video on how Trump is doing farmers a lot of favors in the background. So most of the public and the news just don't notice that it's happening. Check it out, very educational. So anyway, the farm sector has a Trump problem, but they don't want to solve it. They just want to get enough extra special perks on top that will balance all the problems out. You know, bailouts. And if they can't get bailouts, how about a consolation prize of a custom-made, full-scale war with Iran? That'll do, I guess. And I know that sounds nuts, so let me just read you the Farm Bureau's letter to the Trump administration. Farm Bureau recommends the following actions be taken. We've got a bunch of bureaucrats speak about how we should get rid of our tariffs. Other countries are still going to have tariffs because we started this. And railroads and the Jones Act. And then, here's the good part. The Farm Bureau wants Trump to utilize the U.S. Navy to provide and maintain safe and reliable maritime transit for fertilizer shipments through the Strait of Hormuz. The thing is, the U.S. Navy has made it pretty clear, no, we're not doing that. Here's a quote from another piece. A senior official with Iran's Revolutionary Guard has said the strait is closed, and Iran will fire on any ship trying to pass. Several ships have already been hit. The U.S. Navy has held regular briefings with shipping and oil industry counterparts, and has said during those briefings it is unable to provide escorts for the time being. At the time of writing, the Navy's assessment had not changed, and that escorts would only be possible once the risk of attack was reduced. By the way, the channel What's Going On with Shipping has done a pretty good job of covering this. Go check them out. There will be a link in the description. So yeah, we have senior military leadership going, bad idea. If I had to guess, I would say having a Navy escort is not going to keep Iran from firing on you. So all that's going to happen is you're still going to lose your ships, and U.S. military personnel are getting killed on top. And the Farm Bureau, in their timeless wisdom, is insisting, along with others, that they still be given chaperones because they just really, really want them. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. Farmers, if we're serious about blaming these problems we've had for over a year now on a war that started a week ago, let's follow through. We in the farm community value honesty, don't we? Next time we're at church, because we are righteous, God-fearing folks, and we will be at church, won't we? I want us to take a look around, get a good look at the young men of military age who could be asked to serve if we keep this going. I want us to have a heart-to-heart with those young men and their parents about how we think it's a real good deal for these young men to get blown up and drowned in the Strait of Hormuz because we think we're too good to touch Manure. Y'all do good out there.